Hey guys, Dave here, and welcome back to another episode of FFBE War of the Visions. Today's episode is more aimed at beginners. It's a new type of guide for me. It's basically not really a tier list, but some of the best TMRs to aim for and why, and I've given them all rating based on my objective opinion. So I know some people will agree with that, some people will disagree. Hey, it's my opinion, okay? Even if you're a veteran, you might gain a little bit of insight here and there. I am highlighting things that have been released up to the current point in JP as well. So you might want to take a look at it just for future insight there. But I think it'll have a little bit of something for everyone in here. So without further ado, let's jump in and take a look. And I'll explain first also how I'm rating them. All right, so yeah, if you don't know what this item is, you might as well just delete your account and re-roll until you get Ziza, because it's the best item in the game. There's just no ifs, ands, and buts about it. It's better than any other armor, period. So how I'm rating it, you can see the trust categories. I've listed guild battles and arena. The reason I did those separately is because they're not the same, obviously. Guild battles, you know, you're going to have to go up against two teams, right? One with a weakened team, and if you've used the trust ability on the first round, you can't use it in the second round. That's why if it's a good item, for example, the bells here, you can see it's rated higher in arena. That's because you can pop it every arena match, but for guild battle, if you happen to make it through the first guild battle and get onto the second one, you can't use it there. Then we have PvE raids and box event. We're currently on the box event. Then we have the tower modes. Deep dungeon included. Then we have challenge mode. This will be like your Ifrit that's currently up, the mode that's actually labeled challenge and whatnot. Basically, it's a challenge, yeah. But it's not like multiple rounds. So you have like one round, you use it, you get the benefit, and you don't have to go another round like you do with the tower or guild battles. Okay, and then the last one is farming. Now, this is under the premise that we have the ability to turn TMR abilities off. Right now, I'm farming with my mathematician with the bells off. I use Phoebe's Cap because it's 5 agility, usually Phoebe's Cap because it has no ability on it to use. If Iridia uses the ability, she'll just stand there and it delays the farming more than necessary. Okay, so why are the bells the best in the game? Why should you just re-roll? Well, let's just look at the stats. The re-roll thing was kind of a joke, but kind of not at the same time. Even if you take away the ability on this, it's as good as most other trusts, if not better. You have 7 agility. The only other item that has 7 agility are Lucia's boots, and that's female only. So basically, this is the only 7 agility item that male units can get. It's an accessory, so all units can equip it. Now, the TP cost, it's really low. Now, I want to talk about this because it's going to be a judgment criterion for the trusts that come hereafter. So, low TP is good in the sense that it doesn't draw much from your TP pool. Now you get half of what you spend in TP back in AP. So using this, you will get 6 AP. Okay, that's a good thing for, let's say, like the tower, like endurance, things like that. However, it's bad in the fact that you don't get much AP. So for short-lived events, aka like arena, guild battle, you want as high of a TP cost as possible to get the most AP to be able to dish out the strongest attacks. Okay, so you can see, other than that, we still have, it has 12 accuracy on it too. It's like, my word. And then 8 defense, so 8% damage reduction there. The hit points are low, but I mean, who cares? Right now, you only get the highest stat, so you're usually not drawing your hit points from this item. But in the future, it'll lose a little bit of value. But the main thing here is you get 25% of your AP over 3 turns. So you get 6 the first turn from the TP cost, And for example, when I was using it on Venera with, I think, Behemoth or Odin equipped, I was getting 37 a turn. So I mean, that's insane. It was what, like 101 or something, 111. It's an awful lot of AP back. So especially for units like Frederica, Lucia, I mean, they're AP starved. They can dish out a crap ton of damage, especially Frederica with barrage and whatnot. So there's just so much use for this item. So I think by now most people are aware of this, but if not, then yeah. By the way, these are in no particular order. Now this is from Rosa, from the Final Fantasy IV limited time event, limited time unit. It's a 3-turn, 50% attack and magic buff. Now again, these are the max bonuses, assuming you hit level 20 on the item, okay? Because we have to compare the max level and not the entry level. So it's an accessory. I believe everyone can equip it. Mediocre TP cost, so you get 12 AP. They're not the greatest. The stats are decent, 10 spirit. Again, once we get the triple stacking buffs, things like this that don't have the highest spirit, like let's say you have smart armor, smart coat on as well, you get more benefit from that in the future. So although this is an excellent buff, again, in guild battles, it's a 2-rounder, so it's not going to be as good. Better in PvP, but the stats aren't the best necessarily. So I see the strongest point here being in challenge events and whatnot. And you could say, oh well, it's great for farming. Well, the reason I put 0 for farming is you want to be killing stuff the first turn, and farming is all about speed, and speed is all about time. So if you have to wait an extra turn and then wait for enemy turns because you didn't kill in the first turn, then there's a problem there. So you just want to be a glass cannon with your mathematician. All right, now this is a super powerful TMR. I put max for farming because you get the defense, you can drop your hate. Again, assuming we can turn the ability off. It is girls only, unfortunately. That's why I put limited there. The TP cost, average, but 25% light killer for 3 turns and minus hate. It's excellent. Now, in Guild Battle and Arena, I put it high because the stats are just good all over. I mean, a lot of times you're going to put this on your Ayaka, your Mathematician, healer or ranged unit in the back to drop their hate. And in addition, you get great stats too. You get accuracy, that's good for PvP. And then you get a light killer. Now, some people were upset it doesn't have male killer and it's kind of a nerf, but it's also a buff at the same time because you can use that and get 25% more damage on the current box event Double Dragon, whereas you could not before. So nerf, buff, whatever, but it's still an excellent item. So if you haven't finished out your Venera, I mean, she's one of the best units in the game, useful in like raids, pretty much everything, and the TMR is good. So definitely a unit worth finishing out if you haven't already. Another FF4 limited unit here, Kane. I know a lot of people are saving up for this unit and want him. I mean, let's face it, he looks awesome, right? And he gets his own wind spear in the second horrible box event that's coming up. I'm sorry. Add another horrible because it really sucks. But possibly better than raids. I don't know which one's worse, raids or box events. Let me know in the comments below what you think. But this one here is very strong in the fact that you can gain up to 42% haste and 1 movement for 3 turns. He also has Fun Makazatoke, Leave It to Me, which also gives him additional haste. So you can literally double buff haste with this unit, and he becomes really fast. So although he's not super fast in his kit, by using that, it can be super fast. Now, normally something like this wouldn't work in raids. However, since it does give you that speed bonus there, 42%, which is a lot, I gave it 2 stars, even though it's not the bells. But I mean, it's basically the bells or nothing for most characters unless they're a true mage that get like 75% of their AP pull. but great stats overall. And you know, if you're going for this unit, I would go all the way and try to get the TMR because it's pretty decent. Okay, now this is a very powerful one, and since everyone was given so many free medianas and she's been out since day one, I suspect that a lot of people already have this. So if you are not using this to the maximum potential, you need to be using this. All right, so you get 25% attack and magic for 3 turns in a big radius around the unit that casts. I think it's 3 squares out in every direction, up or down, left or right, and I guess 1 or 2 diagonal. And then you get increased AP gain for 3 turns. So I think I got like an extra 17 AP on Stern when I cast Ayaka's Boots after using this. It added quite a bit of damage. You know, it's got decent stats. It's got a high TP, so that's good for PvP. And what I'm doing right now is I'll have Frey Eva come and she'll buff the bonus unit, whatever that is, or my healer, and then Rain will do his own buff, and then the healer or the bonus unit will have like Mediana's hat on, or what we'll talk about later, Miranda's thing, to buff the team back. Okay, so this is great for guild battle and arena. It is good for challenge events, you know, and all that stuff there. So definitely a good item. If you don't have it maxed out, or if you don't have it, it's definitely worth it. Median is an excellent unit as well, very versatile, and a lot of people underestimate her ninja kit. All right, so Katone, a very underrated unit. I think when some people get their Sasuke's Katana maxed out at +5, we're probably going to see a lot more of them. Now JP got, I want to say 3 to 4 weeks ago, the Sasuke Katana event came back on JP. I've been painstakingly trying to buy the katanas, but yeah, if you can get that, definitely go for it. I know Shadow Lynx was a free unit as well, and we got a lot of free stuff, so if you haven't maxed her out yet, I'd be really surprised. So great unit there. But anyways, the Saiga gauntlets, they're pretty good. 5 agility, it's an accessory, so anybody can equip it. They have evasion on it as well, so once the triple armor piece evasion build comes, this will be one of the best items to have in your trust slot, combined with the hat and a +5 ribbon. Or if you're Venera, the main gouge. I got my last recipe the other day, so as soon as that patch comes around, I'm going to be trolling the arena. Okay, so speaking of trolling the arena with the patch, this is kind of what it's going to look like. These are your 3 best vision cards. So your main dodge unit, you're going to put the, the Shadow Lynx card on there. I mean, I guess the missile resistance is decent for your group. It's an MR card, but it gives you, I think, 10% luck up, and that's what boosts your evasion. Then you have the Secrets of the Heart card on Katone, which is group luck up. I forget what percentage it is at max. Mine's only 55, but I have a bunch of selects for after the freebies are over. Then you have Shadow Lynx there and a max Shiva. So you know, I've got most of these cards maxed out. And then Tetrasylphid on, what's her name, Venera. I think you can get up to 15 evasion on her board. Then the Saiga gauntlets are 12. The hat is, I want to say like 27. I think it's 19 plus 8. And then the ribbon is another, I think 19 plus 10 or something. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's 14 plus 10. But it's a lot. So if you go all accessories there, and the hat, I think you can get plus 38 evasion, and I think you get like plus 32, 33 with the main gouge. But don't quote me on that, but it's 100%, 40%, 20%. So whatever you do equip, that's the bonus you're going to get. So if you see a team like this after the triple stacking thing comes up, and they're not a whale, you don't really have to worry too much. I don't think, because you know their vision cards are down. As long as you have your Alex ring and your accuracy vision card, you should be fine. But if it's a whale and they have all those vision cards maxed out, yeah, just don't fight them. All right, so this is another way you could be an annoying evasion team right here. This is a limited accessory, and what I mean by that is only missile units can equip it. However, the 5/5 plus 30 for 3 turns can be cast on another member in the group. So you can throw in Lucia. Well, I guess you would have Naval if you had that. So you could throw her in because she's probably hands down the best for PvP because of her debuffs and whatnot. Throw her in there with like Venera and Catone or Shadow Lynx because she has more innate evasion, and you have a very, very nasty dodge team for arena or guild battle. But again, keep in mind that this you can only use once per guild battle. So that's why I only put 3 stars. But if used correctly on the right team, very high. But the other stats other than evasion are kind of garbage. Not kind of, they are. They're so that's why I gave it low rating on everything else. But for PvP, it's absolutely excellent. And Naval's a really good unit. I have her on JP. Great debuffing and whatnot. And super long range if you do the extra +3 range with all of her passives. Alright, so we've talked about all this evasion. However, how do you counter that? Well, this is one good way to counter it right here. Yerma's Bell increases attack by 50% for up to 3 turns, and it also gives you 60 accuracy for 3 turns. So 60 accuracy, how much is that? That it's probably enough to cancel out like all of Venera's passives, board, and stuff from luck, stats and stuff like that, and maybe a little bit more. It's not enough alone to overcome that, but you can give Yerma or whoever you're using this on other things with accuracy. You'll be able to stack accuracy on items in the future too. Keep that in mind. And there are some very high accuracy items like the what is it, the Dracehorn Spear. I think it's 28. Then not the Killer Bow on JP, but the Rune Bow, which we should be getting Wednesday. I believe that has 25 on it. So you have items like that. So there are counters for the team like that. But if the evasion team goes all out, you literally have to go all out to have a good chance at winning it. Because if not, you know how dodgy like Venera and Shadow Lynx can be. It's crazy. So yeah. All right. So this is kind of like a hidden gem, in my opinion, because Rob isn't one of the best units. Definitely, I wouldn't rate him as a UR unit. Maybe like a Saria level MR or just like a regular MR unit. Don't get me wrong, he has some good stuff, but you can't deny that he is not as strong as the other UR units. However, his trust is completely different. His trust is very, very strong. You've got a super high TP, so that's 21 AP back just by using that. So you have a 3x3 box, basically 1 square in any direction and diagonal around him, or whoever's using it, that's going to give you 20 slash and plus 500 CT. I don't know what plus 500 CT even means, to be honest. Or even if that was correct, it came from the calculator site. But I think it pretty much pushes your turn up so that you move next in most cases. So, I mean, it's really good. Not quite as high as the Miranda Slash, but it's a larger radius. The thing with Miranda armor, which I'll show you next, is you can choose like a plus shape within like the same range. Okay, so this is going to be good for your PvP stuff there, good for challenge, tower, and whatnot. But again, I believe it's a one-time use thing. So once you've used it, it's gone, and that's with like a lot of trust. Some have multiple uses, some don't. But this is only one use, and that kind of sucks. But it's a very, very powerful use, so it makes the armor very good. Here's another, MR level unit that's a UR, but don't underestimate her. Even though she's slow, she does hit very hard, and she has AoE attacks. So the people who underestimate her are the people who are going to be in for a surprise. Not a good surprise. Now, her trust is a pretty decent one too. We haven't really seen any use too much for Stone Killer and Machine Killer yet, but you do get 30% attack for 3 turns. It boosts your hit points by 20% and heals you that amount. So it effectively gives you 20% more hit points. So that's great in PvP and stuff. Helps prevent you from getting one shot. And then maybe if we get like real bosses and real trials, permanent trials and stuff in the future, that this stone killer, machine killer can really start being useful. But it has accuracy and evasion on it too, and while it's low, we'll get the triple stacking soon, so it's going to be something. So if you have Eileen, you might want to work on her in the background, because I mean they're pretty decent as a trust. And this is another underrated unit who could possibly be usable in the future, with the healing staff and then the ability vision cards. So she could be using those heals and other things while doing her cleric support and Banishka, Banishra, etc. It's a high TP cost for her trust, 30% DR, which means damage reduction, not diminishing returns, and then stats all across the board, defense and spirit. So I mean, if you have the extra resources to get her up, then definitely worth it in the long run for the TMR. All right, new armor here for Glacilia, who should be coming out this Wednesday, because we've already seen her shards as the monthly unit. Can't imagine she's not coming on Wednesday. The armor is decent. I kind of misunderstood the thing at first because some of the websites are ambiguous, but it gives you a one-time 20 AP buff, but then it gives you 15% slash for 3 turns. So you're basically getting 30 AP back the first turn because of the TP cost. Now, it's a pretty darn good armor overall. And then getting that AP is really nice, and then the slash resistance is decent, but it's a heavy armor, and most heavy armor units are already strong against slash, so you're adding a strength to a strength, instead of a strength to a weakness. So I mean that's kind of a downside in my opinion, because you can't put it on units that are truly weak against slash, but you can make her take almost nothing. So Bling Stern, when you're going up against these 75% slash resistance Glacelias, you're going to get smacked in the face and do almost no damage. So I mean, it's good in pretty much every situation, but it's not the best in any one category. All right, so this is another maybe not so popular unit, and probably the biggest reason is the low hit point pool and not being the best unit at PvP. However, I've seen that a lot of people have not really looked at her full potential or used her properly. An excellent unit in PvE, lots of strong abilities. She's all the armor dropping like Venera and whatnot, and does a crap ton of damage. Okay. And in the future, Maichin used her in Arena. You can get her missile resistance, I think, up in the 80s or 90s, to the point where she takes almost no damage. The damage won't even hit 100 with the missile unit's strongest attacks in some cases. So in the future, when the missile meta comes in, this unit will be very useful. But unit aside, her TMR for like raids and that type of event, it's pretty much your number 2 go-to thing. You get 15 TP plus 5% of whatever, so you're probably going to get, I don't know, like, what is that? Probably like 20 to 22 AP your first turn, and then like another 5% the next 2 turns after that. So this is really strong, and it gives you 50 armor pierce, 12 accuracy, 9 crit. Hit points aren't anything to write home about, but this is a very strong TMR. Now I put limited up there because it's mostly like your hard hitter physical units. For some reason, Dragoons are not on there and Ziza is. I don't understand that, but units like Gilgamesh and stuff like that, I tried it out on him, and oh my word, did he hit hard. So this is a very good one to get. If you have Uldoa and you haven't gotten this yet, I would consider switching your hard quest priority to get this first, because it really is awesome. All right, so Sakura kind of ushered in a new type of master ability where the unit buffs other units of the same attribute. So all other light units in her group do 15% more light damage. So pretty decent. Now the only reason I chose this armor is because of the ability. minus 350 activation time for 3 turns. I mean, if you use this on Scar, everything is going to be next to instant. It could possibly be instant if you're combining it with Who Wants to Be the Strongest and his reduction in activation time ability thing. It could be super, super powerful. However, other than that, the stats, they're all right, but it's nothing super great. So I didn't give it really that good of ratings because it's going to be very situational. But if you combine it with the Who Wants to Be the Strongest and other ability activation decreasing things, then the unit that is using it could be super powerful. But it's like a selfish buff also, and that's another reason I didn't rate it super high. It doesn't affect any other unit. I know a lot of people probably have Frederica, maybe you've already maxed her out. When we can turn off trust abilities on auto, it's going to be really good because you get the accuracy and crit and a good deal of hit points. However, right now, the AI will troll you to no end with this. It'll use this. Not only is it low TP, right, but it uses the remove status effects when they don't even have status effects. So it's a complete waste, and they could be doing like an attack buff or something that costs higher TP, especially in your PvP areas. Now, I gave it ratings based on what it does and its capability when the AI would use it smartly. For PvP, there's a lot of one-shots and stuff, so there's not a super lot of utility there for that. Because you have to do it after the fact, and you're probably dead or they're probably dead, and you don't want Frederica running forward or whoever's using it to remove that if you're trying to keep the units apart. So not the best for PvP, but great for tower and stuff like that if the boss is throwing out those types of status effects. Okay, Ayaka's boots. I know a lot of people should have Ayaka by now too, with all the freebies and whatnot. Very old unit. These boots, I mean, one of the biggest reasons people use them, honestly, is because of the high TP cost and the 5 agility on them. I mean, right there, you can see I gave it a lot of stars across the board, and that's because of the agility. I mean, agility is so important in this game. It's quite possibly the most important stat. I mean, honestly. And then you have high spirit and crit evasion on there, decent hit points and whatnot. And it's an accessory, so any unit can use it. And even though they're pretty, male units can use them also. It's not real. I gave it a high rating in guild battles too. It's because of the agility and the overall stats and whatnot. But I use this on my Rain a lot of times too to help him be 100% magic resistance and get his speed up and whatnot. So great thing here, great TMR here, even if you don't use the ability for what it is. Even if you're just using it for the AP game, very good item. All right, so I'm not sure how many people have raised up Miranda, but her thing is actually really good. I said it was going to be next after Rob, and I lied. But it is very similar to his, except this one, it's kind of like Ayaka's boots. I think it's the same range and the same plus shape, and you can get up to 25% slash and magic attack for 3 turns on all of those units. So it's very, very strong. Again, I said I use it in PvP with my unit in the back and the middle to buff up the other units. Then they break off and the offensive units go after the enemy. And it's got really good stats across the board too, very high hit points, which will come more into play later when they stack. It's not super good in any one category, but that if you use the attack thing correctly, you're going to do a lot more damage. All right, this sword here, it comes from Adelard. We just talked about Miranda. So red mage type units that pull off of magic it's a magical attack, right? It's going to be the best in-slot weapon for those units. Again, it has to pull from the magic, and it has to be a magical attack. It can't pull from the magic and then be a slash attack like Freya's Blizzaga blades and whatnot. So this is, I think, more for like red mages when you're using jamming thrust. Okay, but very strong for that. But Miranda, again, keep in mind, she does have like Taunting Blade and stuff in her Paladin tree, and you're not going to get the best benefit from this. So with the hybrid type units like her, Ramza, Gilgamesh, Freyeva, Rain, you're going to have to change your weapon type, espers, etc., depending on which kit or which skill even you're using. So make sure you understand which skills pull from what stat, which ones use bravery, which ones use faith, and then which ones are what attack types, because you can have a magical or a physical slash type, etc. So you don't want to screw that up. All right, this unit is very highly underrated. It's basically like an MR level SR unit. I unlocked this cap a long time ago because I saw the potential in it. It's great across the board. I mean, you have 5 agility, 11 defense right there. I mean, you still have an ability, not a castable one, but the 10% light resist could be really useful depending on what you're using it for. But the 5 agility on that and 11 defense is great. This is what I use on my mathematician currently when I go out and farm, because the AI isn't casting anything. I tried using Ziza's bells, and when there was nothing to attack, it would cast the bells and then it would just stand there. So at least when there's nothing to attack, it moves towards the target. So it's a bug with the mathematician AI and possibly other units. They'll cast something and then they'll just stop instead of moving. I think I've seen maybe Gilgamesh do that too. It's a flaw in the game and it needs to be fixed, but you can fix it yourself by putting on a trust that gives agility and doesn't have an ability until we get the ability to turn trust abilities off. Then, of course, Ziza's bells will be number 1 because of the accuracy and 7 agility and defense. All right, Soch is another pretty decent, a little bit slow side, not super high damage, but a decent SR unit. And you get a nice accessory, good for units like Yerma. It has good defense and good accuracy. So that's why I give it pretty flat ratings across the board. You're not super good at anything, but again, it's just an SR one. It's an easy unit to max out, especially if you've been playing since the game came out. Even if you're free to play, you should have her at max or very close by now. But again, just a reminder, we'll be getting MR, SR, and rare, LOL, and normal shards later, just like JP did. I can't imagine we won't. So don't go wasting your rainbow resources unless you have an abundance of them. Save them for your units. Your UR units, I mean. All right, so this is another underrated unit. I'll admit I haven't used them yet. I only maxed them out for the trust. Now, I think this trust is better than Whispers in many situations. The downside, obviously, is you have half the hit points and it's cloth armor instead of an accessory. So that's your downside. But and minus, you don't have the magical 5%, but you still have all the physical 5%, and you have defense and spirit, which Whispers doesn't have. So you're going to get an additional damage reduction for physical, and then 8 for magic there. So you actually get more magic DR on this, and you get 12 across the board for all your physical attacks. But again, it is an armor piece, so keep that in mind. But really good, really underrated SR TMR. All right, so that's pretty much it for today's video. Again, I hope it was a help. I mean, I know it's not really aimed at like veteran players or people like me who try to research every little thing in the game and know everything. But for new players, I'm sure it'll be very useful. It at least give you somewhat of a benchmark or a starting point, depending on what activity you're going for. That's why I put in the different categories, PvE, tower, etc., PvE challenge event, and whatnot. There's really not that many types of things in the game. I mean, let's face it, the game is pretty boring most of the time. It's 99.9% farming. That's all the game really is, unfortunately. When you can actually play the game, and I'm not talking about anything past like your 5th raid or your 5th boss challenge. when you're like actually controlling your character, aka like tower events and stuff, the game is really fun. It's challenging, it's fun. I like that they need more events like the tower, that need some challenging boss events. I love the challenge events and whatnot, but the raids and the grindiness, it just has to be cut down. They need to increase the energy cost and rewards and decrease the number of times that you need to do it, because it's crazy. It's bonkers. But anyways, let me know if this helped you or not, what you think of it in the comments below, and that'll pretty much decide whether I do something like this in the future again. I will have another weapon and armor one on the way for you guys, because I know a lot of people do use that and find it helpful, but I'm not sure about this TMR thing, especially since a lot of it's probably common information already. But just let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. Take care.